the world's brightest small on-camera LED panel light. Lupo Smartpanel dual color LED.
This is a CineD review, supported by B&H and CVP.
Today we're going to look at Lupo Smartpanel dual color LED light. It's touted to be the world's brightest on-camera LED panel light. This light emits an impressive 4200 lux at 1 meter. Now this is a similar output to some of the 1x1 LED panel lights on the market. Now I know some of you, lux is kind of a foreign language, so I thought we'd dive into some quick demonstrations and check it out. As a shooter, you sometimes find yourself as a one-man band with minimal gear. So the question is, if you have only one smart panel in your camera case, can it handle some of the typical situations you're thrown into? First, I wanted to test it in an interview setting with a window in the background. Personally, I love to incorporate windows in the background when possible, but I don't want them to blow out. I've set my talent up here as an off-camera interview. So here's the shot with no lights with exposure set for his face. So I do like the backlight and kicker we're getting here on the face from the windows, but as you can see, the windows are really hot and the one on the right is blown out. The way I approach this kind of situation is to set the exposure for the windows, then I'll open up about a stop to make the windows a little brighter. I think this gives it a much natural look. Now I'll bring up the light to get the exposure right on my talent. So I'll dial it up where it looks to be close by eye. Looking into the camera, I see the light is a little too bright, so I'll bring it down a touch. And there you have it. For such a small light, the smart panel really puts out, and it has plenty of output to match the exposure to the face here. Right now we're about 3/4 of the way up on the dimmer, so we actually still have a little bit of headroom. Next, I wanted to see if the smart panel could handle full daylight. So on a very sunny day, I put my talent with his back to the sun. I then put the smart panel about 2.5 feet away on full power without the diffusion. Here's the results. The smart panel definitely helps fill in the face. It's pretty amazing that a light this size can pull this off. Here's my setup. The smart panel is close, like I said, about 2.5 feet away, and it's just doing the job. Any further and it wouldn't be enough. Okay, so here's another scenario where the talent is in the shade and the background is mostly shady. So without any lights, it doesn't look terrible, but it can be enhanced. Because the background is shady, I was able to place the smart panel about 5 feet away. Now I don't want to overlight my talent, but I want to give it just a bit of fill. And again, the smart panel pulls it off. So here's a typical situation with a Zoom call or other online meeting where you have your back to a window and the web camera exposes to the window, leaving your face dark. The flexibility of the smart panel is that although it can be very bright, you can also dim it down for lower light situations. Here the window is already given a nice kicker light on the right, so I placed the smart panel a little on the left side of frame. As you can see here, the smart panel makes a very nice key. On this setup, the dimmer is only set to 1/4 output. Now just to show you, here's the dimmer full up, which of course is way too much. And here's the dimmer back at 1/4 power. Okay, so as you can see, it works really well and has a nice soft quality. I definitely suggest that you use the included diffuser to soften the light. Now I'm using the smart panel on a regular light stand, but you can easily set it up with a desktop light stand. The way I like to use the smart panel light is in conjunction with other instruments. So for this setup here, I have an action panel dual color as my key light. I have one smart panel as my fill. I have another smart panel as my kind of kicker scratch light right here. And then I have an RGBW action panel as the backlight, kind of putting the blue up on the paper. Now this is a super portable setup. All these lights fit into Lupo's backpack, and it's a great on-the-road little kit. There's 3 different ways you can power your smart panel dual color light. Okay, first, like we've been showing you, is through a Sony type NPF battery, but it also comes with a USB-C type power adapter, which can power right here. Now, I'm not a huge fan of USB-C cables. They have a tendency to break, but this definitely works. But what I like better is there's a 2.5 millimeter jack right here. And that jack can take anything anywhere from 7 volts all the way up to 20 volts. So you can use that jack to plug it in from your camera from a 14.4 volt V-mount battery or anything in between. So right here, I'm using an old hard drive power supply that's 12 volts. And as you can tell, it works great. Okay, so let me just break in here real quick. While the light works great plugged in to the AC power with 12 volts, so this here is actually a 12 volt output from my camera, it is not working with the 14.4 volts. So I'll change out the 12 volt to the 14.4 volt, and it just doesn't work. So if you see back here, this is actually plugged into my V-mount battery. Okay, so I'm not sure if this amperage is too much or what, but just you should know that it does not work with the 14.4 volt battery. Lupo claims that their smart panel dual color is 4200 lux at 1 meter. So I wanted to test it out with my CineD C800 and see if it was true. And I thought I'd also test out a couple of other on-camera LED lights that I had laying around. I wanted to test out my old Fresnel on-camera light that I haven't used in 20 years, but it's super bright. But unfortunately it's not working. So that's not happening. Okay, so but what we have here, we also have, this is the aputure ALH18C, and this is the HDV Z98. So back in the day, a ton of people had the Z98. Okay, so let's test them all. First, let's do Lupo. So this is the smart panel dual color. We're testing all these on daylight right now. So at daylight, I'm reading 4,740 lux. So it's over the 4,200 that they state in their literature. We do have a little bit of ambient light in here from the lights that are lighting me up, so that's affecting it. But I'd say for sure it's over 4,200 lux. Let's look at some of the other information here too. The CCT is 5,912. So it's supposed to be 5,600K, so it's a little off there, and there's a 0.5 magenta shift. And the CRI is 94.1, and the TLCI is 96. Okay, so next, let's try the aputure. So this one is actually a pretty good light. So let's see, at 1 meter, we have 697 lux. Now the CCT is 5,451. There's a 0.2 green shift, so it's a teeny bit on the green side. The CRI is 96.8, which is a little better than the smart panel, and the TLCI is 97. And then the old standard, the HDV Z98. So the HDV Z98 is 714 lux. It's definitely blue at 6,796K. Now what's interesting is that it has a green shift of 1.3 green, and the CRI of this light is 79.9, so terrible CRI. And TLCI of this is 65. So these are awful numbers. This is the light that we used to use all the time. I also wanted to check out the numbers with the smart panel dual color in tungsten, which is 3200K. The CCT is more accurate here at 3160K, just off from the 3200K target. The magenta shift is a little less at 0.3. It's not quite as bright here. It comes in at 4,050 lux, but the CRI is slightly improved at 95.1, while the TLCI holds at 96. I also like to do f-stops because, you know, I play in f-stops all the time with my camera. So let's check it out in the f-stops. So Lupo at the 1 meter mark. This is f16. I have an ISO of 800, the shutter speed of 45. Back here is 7 feet, and this is an f8. Now I want you to notice this. The Lupo has these intensifiers on the front panel, so it's a much narrower beam angle. So it's like a 45-degree beam angle. So if you notice right here, okay, we're f8 here, and we start falling off right here. Okay, so again, we're f8 here, we start falling off right here. So at 7 feet, your beam angle is maybe 3.5 feet. So that's important to know. Sometimes that's great because you don't have spill everywhere, but if you need a wide beam angle, this is not the light for you. All right, so now let's check out the aputure ALH198C. At 1 meter, it is f5.6, and at 7 feet, it's f2.8. So quite a huge difference there. So but let's check out the beam angle here. So we're 2.8, 2.8, 2.8. So this is a very wide beam angle. It starts dropping off right here. I don't know if I'm in frame anymore. So right here is where it starts dropping off. So I'm out of frame. Okay, so coming this way. Let me get on this side. Right here is where it drops off. So this is probably about 7 to 8 feet. So this has a much wider spread. So finally, let's check out the HTV Z98. 1 meter mark. It's right on 6.756 split. All right, so back here, again, we're 2.8. Let's see how wide we get. It looks like it's about the same width as the other one. It starts dropping off on the very edge, which you probably can't even see. Coming back this way, it starts dropping off right here. Okay, so again, this may be a little less of a spread. That is probably about a 6-foot spread at 7 feet. The Smartpanel Dual Color is a super flexible light to have. You can use it as an on-camera light, as a mini studio light, or part of a larger lighting setup. Because the Smartpanel uses the same technology as its bigger brothers, the Action Panel and the Super Panel, it feels right at home on set. Now, on my first film shoot since COVID, we've already incorporated a couple of them into some of our lighting setups. The Smartpanel Dual Color is a small, powerful, durable, and extremely robust light, and it's definitely worth a look. It's available in the US at B&H for $159 and in Europe at CVP for 145.95 euros.
This is a CineD review, supported by B&H and CVP.